Hello everyone, Tom with Capo Fetish. Never judge an album by its cover. Today's topic is going to be bad cover art on stellar albums. I have a few here to mention, so let's get on with it. And we're going to start on here with 1966's Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys. There is nothing on this cover that suggests that this is any different than previous Beach Boys albums. There's nothing that suggests that this is a revolutionary record, right? This stands apart from previous albums like Today or Summer Days and Summer Nights, but it couldn't be any more from the truth. So why they picked this cover, who knows? This was taken at the San Diego Zoo back in 1966, and they just slapped it on the cover. Even the flip side of the cover kind of suggests, you know, this is just another Beach Boys album like Summer Days, Summer Nights, or Party. A lot of fun, but the album contains some of the most revolutionary music of the 1960s, as we all know. So this is just a prime example here of just bad cover art on a stellar album. Beach Boys from 1966, Pet Sounds. Another one here from 1984. This artist here was pretty much dropped from his label. This album was released on a different label, I think an indie label initially. Then years later, re-released back on his initial label, Columbia Records. And this is an album by Leonard Cohen. It's called Various Positions. This is, I guess you'd call this a selfie of himself right here. And not a real attractive cover, but somehow the record label went with it. But bad cover art, but a really great album. So you've got the lead-off track, Dance Me to the End of Love, which is a really cool track. I think he used to start a lot of his later shows with that particular number. You have the original version of Hallelujah on here, a lot of verses. You have some other stellar tracks on here, like The Law, Coming Back to You, Heart with No Companion, If It Be Your Will. But man, that is a bad cover right there. So Leonard Cohen, Various Positions from 1984, and this was re-released on Columbia. I don't remember where it was released initially. I think on some indie label, but he was re-signed to Columbia. I think everything now is on Columbia. But I mean, there really isn't, when you think about it, when I think about it really, Leonard Cohen really didn't put out any horrible albums. There are even like one of his worst albums people consider like Death of a Ladies Man is horrible. It's still listenable. There's still something charming about it and humorous. But this is another just a really cool Leonard Cohen album, but just a really bad cover. Various Positions, Leonard Cohen from 1984. Here's an album that a lot of us waited for back in 1979. After the previous album by this band sold millions, still does to this day. We were all very captivated by this album. I remember listening to Rumors throughout the summer of 1977 and wondering, what are they going to put out next? And when they put out Tusk, first of all, horrible album cover art right here. I never understood what the concept of this was. When I first listened to this album, I think I maybe gave it one or two plays throughout back in 1979, and it just kind of went over my head. I stuck it back on the shelf for about 3 decades. Never even had any inclination to ever play it again, but just kept it on the shelf. So about maybe 10 years ago, I decided to just give it another shot, listen to it all in one night from start to finish, and it is a fantastic record. It's just one of those albums that you have to put on headphones and just really get into the groove and everything. Should we say, it's really more of a Lindsey Buckingham effort. There are some Stevie Nicks tracks, there's some Christy McVie tracks, some really good ones too. But it really is more of a showcase for Lindsey Buckingham's talents as a songwriter, producer, arranger. And it really is a great listen all the way through. Very unique, very experimental, but the tracks are very catchy. You just have to give it a shot, but it's nothing like Rumors. But again, that cover art is abysmal. What the hell is that, right? If anybody can explain to me what that is all about, let me know in the comment section. So another example here of bad cover art, stellar album, Tusk from Fleetwood Mac from 1979. An album that's considered like probably one of the greatest metal albums, one of the most important metal albums of all time, historical, etc. But what a bad cover. What a bad cover. Black Sabbath's Paranoid from 1970. Now, their first album, that cover on that first album is truly fits the music. With that woman and the way they tainted the picture and that house in the back. But this one is just kind of comical right here. And it doesn't really fit with the rest of what's really inside the music. I mean, when you've got a track like Electric Funeral, which for me is one of the most evil sounding riffs I've ever heard. Yes, there have been more evil sounding things from Slayer and the like, but I think there's something really kind of sinister and evil about some of these riffs that Tony Iommi came up that put a lot of those other metal bands to shame that came later on who tried to outdo this kind of stuff. So again, you know, the whole album is just full of this kind of just, you know, ominous kind of sinister vibe. Electric Funeral, Hand of Doom. I always loved Planet Caravan. I think that's a really cool, slow, spacey kind of track. It has War Pigs on it. That's probably one of my favorites. And of course, Iron Man and Paranoid, but the cover art just doesn't match the music at all. It's very comical looking. Who is this character on the cover? The back cover is pretty much the same. So another example here, Black Sabbath's Paranoid from 1970. Bad cover art, stellar album. How about this one? 1975's Daryl Hall and John Oates. I remember looking at this album when I was young and just going, what the fuck is this? You know? This cover could not be any different from what the music is inside. You've got really cool Philly soul going on here. You've got Sarah Smile, Camellia, Nothing at All. It Doesn't Matter Anymore. It's just a really cool Philly soul record, but it looks like they're ready to join Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. It's just who came up with this concept. Really presented them in a real awkward way compared to what kind of music they were playing. So Daryl Hall, John Oates, the Silver Album, as it's called, from 1975. Bad cover art. I love this record. This is from 1985. I just talked about this band in one or two videos prior, and I think this is literally like a 5-star album, but man, this cover art is terrible. It's everything but the girls, Love Not Money, two kids pissing in the street. Could they have found any other photo or artwork or art direction for this album? You know, bad cover artwork aside, the album is just full of gems. It really showcases Tracy Thorn's vocals, Ben Watt's songwriting. It's incredible. When All's Well, Heaven Help Me, Are You Trying to Be Funny, which was a single release around this time, which has this kind of twangy Birds, Pretenders vibe. She even does a version of Kid from the first Pretenders album on here. Tracy Thorn, Anytown. Every track on here is just stellar, but that cover just doesn't go with the romanticism or the vibe of the record, you know. So another example right here, Love Not Money by Everything But the Girl from 1985. Don't be dissuaded by the cover album. Just get the album and listen to the music. Another one here from 1985 is, I've never understood this particular cover either. It doesn't really fit the album or fit the band. The Replacements, Tim. Now, their previous album, Let It Be, from 1984, that is a classic album cover, showing them on the roof, just hanging out. But I don't know what the direction here, what the art direction was for this particular album. This is a classic Replacements album, but I mean, you look at this here, they have this kind of like hallway here, and then you've got Bob Stinson up here. It looks like he's ready to come right out of Nightmare on Elm Street. I mean, it's just bizarre. The color combinations, just, I don't know. The back cover is more interesting. It shows them live. But another example here. Bad cover art, but a stellar album indeed. Featuring amazing classics. Side 2 is just one of their best sides. Bastards of Young, Lay It Down Clown, Left of the Dial. Little Mascara, Here Comes a Regular, and then side 1, Hold My Life, I'll Buy, Kiss Me on the Bus, Dose of Thunder, Waitress in the Sky, and Swingin' Party. How about TRex's Tanks album? The two previous albums are kind of classic album covers. You got The Slider prior to this, and you got Electric Warrior. But this is just bad You know, Tanks with the phallic symbol kind of showing off right here, kind of, I guess, right? Not a good cover, but a great album. No one really talks about Tanks very much. Has some of TRex's greatest tracks on here. Mad Donna, Tenement Lady, Shock Rock, Broken Hearted Blues, Born to Boogie. Whole thing, pretty much the whole album is pretty stellar. But yeah, I never liked the cover of Tanks. 1973, Tanks by TRex. Now the 80s just had a horrible array of bad cover art, and this is no exception. I love this album. This is the second album by the Smithereens from 1988. It's called Green Thoughts, but look at this cover. I mean, just, I don't know what to say about this one. I'd rather look at the back, look at the boys themselves, but a fantastic follow-up to Especially For You, their first major label debut, with Only a Memory, and what else do we have on here? Drown in My Own Tears, Spellbound. Just about every track is fantastic, but I hate the cover. And then last but not least, I love the Stones album, but there's something about this cover that I have never ever liked. I don't know what it is. I think it's Keith Richards. He looks like he's been on like awake for about 8 days, and he's about ready to drop down. Just go face down, face plant right into Mick Jagger's head. There's just something really unappealing about this cover, I've always thought. Look at Keith in that, right? You got Bill Wyman in the back looking kind of bored. The back cover, Charlie Watts looking bored. Just horrible album cover art. The inside, you know. I'd rather look at the original Beggar's Banquet album cover with the toilet and the graffiti than this any day. But this is a fantastic record. Very underrated Stones record. Hot Stuff, Fool to Cry, Hand of Fate, Memory Motel. Not a lot of people talk about it. It's not very highly rated, but I think it's a good transitional phase right before they go into Some Girls. But never liked this cover, and Keith just looks terrible on this cover. So, do you have any more to add to the mix? I know there are plenty out there, but they have to fit this criteria. It has to be like at least a fairly good album with horrible album art. So let me know in the comments section. As always, thanks for watching. If you'd like to subscribe, just press that subscribe button. And we'll see you soon, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.